I slapped my eldest son, and I regretted it deeply after learning the truth. My name is Thomas and I'm 42 years old, working as a project manager at a construction company. I have 2 sons at home, Ethan, 15, and Liam, 13. To others I seem to have it all, a stable career and 2 children, and I should be filled with joy. But only I know that the balance of this family has long tilted quietly because of Liam's congenital heart condition. Both boys attend the city's experimental school. Coincidentally, the school launched a senior tutoring program, which allows some outstanding junior high school students to attend classes with senior high school students. Since Liam was top of his class, he was placed in Ethan's class. Normally, with only a 2-year age gap, having the brothers in the same class to look out for each other should have been a good thing. Yet every time I saw Ethan sitting at the back of the classroom, heads down working on exercises, while Liam was surrounded by teachers at the front answering questions, anger would well up inside me. I always thought Ethan wasn't ambitious enough, that he couldn't even compare to his younger brother. Liam was diagnosed with a congenital heart condition when he was little, and the doctor repeatedly warned us that he couldn't be stimulated or overexerted. Naturally, the whole family's attention focused on him. I often patted Ethan on the shoulder and told him in a commanding tone, "Your brother isn't in good health. You're the older one, so you need to let him have his way more. Keep an eye on him at school, don't let classmates bully him, and don't let him get too tired." Every time I said this, Ethan would just hang his head and mumble a quiet "okay," giving no hint of his true feelings. I never stopped to think that behind his silence, he had already taken on the responsibility of protecting his brother through his actions. Once when I went to pick them up from school, I saw 2 older students cornering Liam from a distance. They were teasing him, calling him a sickly weakling, and trying to snatch his school bag. I was about to rush over when Ethan ran out from a nearby convenience store and stood in front of Liam, fists clenched. "He's not well," Ethan said. "If you've got a problem, come at me." The 2 students were half a head taller than Ethan, but he didn't back down an inch, until their homeroom teacher, Ms. Wilson, came over to defuse the situation. Later, when I asked Ethan about it, he brushed it off lightly, saying, "It was nothing. They were just messing around." Liam, hiding behind Ethan, secretly tugged at my sleeve and whispered, "That's what my brother always does. Whenever someone bullies me, he never runs away." But I didn't take it seriously. I only told Ethan, "Don't get into fights, and don't let your brother get dragged into trouble." I didn't notice Ethan's hands, hanging by his sides, clenched tightly. My requirements for Ethan were simple. His grades didn't need to be excellent, passing was enough, but he had to be sensible and responsible. Yet even that seemed beyond him. His math scores had long hovered around the passing line, and his English was even worse. Ms. Wilson, his homeroom teacher, called me in for talks 10 times more often than she did for Liam. In contrast, Liam not only remained the top student in his grade, but was also surprisingly thoughtful for his age. He would take the initiative to help his mom with housework, hand me a glass of warm water when I got home from work, and even defend Ethan, "Dad, it's not that my brother is trying to do badly on his exams. He helps me with math every night, and doesn't even have time to finish his own homework." Every time Liam stood up for Ethan, I would glare at Ethan and say, "Look at your brother, he's 2 years younger than you, but 100 times more sensible. If you were even half as worry-free as him, I wouldn't have to stress so much." I never noticed the redness in Ethan's eyes, or how tightly he pressed his lips together in those moments. He never mentioned staying up late every night to work through practice problems, just to help Liam catch up on the basics. He never spoke of the time Liam fainted in PE class, and he carried his brother 2 kilometers to the hospital, only to suffer from low blood sugar himself from exhaustion. He never told us that he was isolated at school because he was always protecting Liam. My mind was filled with thoughts of Liam's health and his studies, but I forgot that Ethan was also a child who needed care. Recently, Ethan had been acting stranger and stranger. Before, he would greet us when he got home from school, but now he would head straight to his room. His mom had to call him several times before he came out for dinner. What annoyed me even more was that he had stayed out all night 3 weekends in a row. When I asked where he'd been, he only said, "I was with classmates." If I pressed him further, he'd fall silent. Resentment built up inside me like a snowball. I decided that after his exams, I'd have a serious talk with him and settle the score. On the day of the midterm exams, I was inspecting the construction progress at the site when my phone suddenly rang. It was Ms. Wilson, the homeroom teacher. "Mr. Thomas, would you be free to come to the school right now? There's something I need to discuss with you in person," she said, her tone serious. A bad feeling settled in my stomach. When I arrived at the school, Ms. Wilson, the invigilator Ms. Daisy, and my 2 sons were waiting in the office. Ethan had his head down, his hair messy and his school uniform collar askew. Liam sat beside him, hands resting on his knees, his face pale. When Ms. Daisy saw me come in, she got straight to the point. "Mr. Thomas, during the exam today, I caught your eldest son Ethan cheating. He had cheat sheets hidden on him, and the evidence is conclusive." Cheating? My head buzzed and anger clouded my judgment instantly. I walked up to Ethan and pointed a finger at him, demanding an explanation. "What did I always tell you? It's okay if your grades aren't good, but you can't lose your integrity. How could you cheat? Your brother is right here, this is the example you set for him." Ethan looked up, his eyes red. "I didn't cheat," he said, his voice trembling with tears but still firm with defiance. Ms. Daisy pulled out a slip of paper. "This is what we found in your son's hand. It's full of math formulas, and they're highly relevant to today's exam questions. Besides, he usually fails his exams, but this time, his paper was a perfect score after a preliminary check. What else could it be if not cheating?" Ms. Wilson sighed and handed me the exam paper. "Mr. Thomas, please take a look at the paper first. Ethan did get a perfect score this time, which is impressive. But given his usual grades and Ms. Daisy's testimony, we're in a difficult position." I picked up the paper. The handwriting was neat, and every step of the problem-solving was clear. There was no doubt it was a perfect score. But the more I looked, the angrier I got. How could someone who usually failed suddenly get a perfect score if he wasn't cheating? And Liam was right there watching. Why hadn't he stopped Ethan? One brother dared to cheat, and the other turned a blind eye. "You still dare to say you didn't cheat?" My hands shook with anger. "I told you to study hard, but you didn't listen. Instead, you resort to these cheap tricks. How did I end up raising such a disappointing kid?" Before I finished speaking, I slapped Ethan across the face. The sound of the slap, crisp and clear, echoed through the office. Ethan clutched his cheek. The defiance in his eyes vanished instantly, replaced by deep disappointment and coldness. He didn't cry, he just stared at me intensely, his gaze like a knife, piercing my heart with an unexpected ache. "Dad! Don't hit him!" Liam exclaimed, rushing to pull me back. But he moved too quickly and started coughing. I hurried to support Liam, patting his back to soothe him. "Are you okay? Did that upset you?" Liam shook his head, then looked at Ethan, tears streaming down his face. "Dad, my brother really didn't cheat. He's been studying until midnight every day recently. Last time I had a fever, he stayed up with me all night, and he even nodded off in class the next day. And when Jack and the others bullied me, it was my brother who took a punch for me. His arm was all black and blue, but he never told you about it." I froze for a moment and glanced at Ethan's arm. He always wore long-sleeved school uniforms. I'd never noticed if there were any marks on his arm. But Ethan turned his face away and muttered softly, "Stop talking about it, Dad didn't mean it. Don't defend him." I cut Liam off. If he'd really been working hard, would his grades have been so bad before? He must have made up this cheating trick just to avoid getting scolded by me. Liam fell silent, staring silently out the window, his shoulders trembling slightly. When we got home, I announced Ethan's punishment without hesitation. "You're grounded for a month, no going out, no playing video games." We're canceling the beach trip next month. I was going to take your brother to relax, but now there's no point. And I'm deducting 3 months of your pocket money, $600 total. Let that be a lesson to you. I thought my wife Amy would support me, but instead, she argued with me fiercely. Thomas, have you lost your mind? You hit him and punished him without even finding out the truth. Do you know why Ethan stayed out all night? He was working as a game companion at an internet cafe to buy you a new pair of glasses. You mentioned last time that your current ones aren't strong enough, and that it's hard for you to read blueprints. He remembered that. And every time Liam was bullied, it was Ethan who stood up for him. You never saw any of his good deeds, you only know how to scold him and hit him. Do you even deserve to be a father? Don't I care about him? I work hard every day to earn money and support this family, isn't that for both of them? I retorted. Liam's in poor health, how can I not take extra care of him? Ethan's the older brother, what's wrong with asking him to take on a little more responsibility? Taking on more responsibility isn't something he owes us. Amy cried. He's your son too, he needs your care and trust just as much. You hit him today and said such cruel things to him, do you have any idea how much that hurt him? We had a huge fight and ended up not speaking to each other. Over the next few days, Ethan didn't come home. I acted like I didn't care, saying, let him fend for himself, but inside, I grew more and more anxious. Amy called and texted Ethan every day, but he either didn't answer or blocked her. I tried to stay calm, but every time I passed Ethan's empty room, or saw the half-finished math notes on his desk, a heavy feeling settled in my chest. A week later, I was in a meeting at the company when Ms. Wilson called suddenly, her voice full of apology. Mr. Thomas, I'm so sorry, we made a mistake. Ethan didn't cheat. I froze, thinking I must have misheard. Ms. Wilson, what do you mean? She explained, the school has been upgrading the surveillance system recently, and we found there was a blind spot in the monitoring area during the exam. Later we checked the footage from the adjacent area, and saw that another student slipped the cheat sheet to Ethan. Ethan threw it away immediately, he didn't even look at it. Ms. Daisy misunderstood because of her angle. We also checked Ethan's recent homework and quiz scores, and he really has made great progress. Since last month, he's been scoring over 80 on his math quizzes. That perfect score this time is the result of his own hard work. Oh, and Ethan often helps his classmates with their homework too, especially his brother. He's the one who teaches Liam how to solve most of the difficult problems. Ms. Daisy then took the phone, her voice filled with guilt. Mr. Thomas, I'm truly sorry for wronging Ethan. I've already apologized to him. He's a wonderful boy, last time some classmates bullied Liam, he stepped in to stop it. He's very responsible. After hanging up the phone, my mind went blank. Guilt and regret washed over me like a tide. I had wronged him, even hit him, and all the while, he hadn't cheated at all. Instead, he'd been quietly protecting his brother, studying hard, and even secretly saving up to buy me a gift. I asked for leave immediately and rushed home. As soon as I walked in, Amy came over holding a box, her eyes red. Look at this, she said. Ethan hid it in his wardrobe. I found it when I was tidying his room yesterday. I opened the box. Inside was a brand new pair of glasses, the same style I'd stared at for a little longer in the optical shop last time. There was even a note stuck to the temple, in Ethan's handwriting, Dad, don't work too hard reading blueprints. This prescription should be strong enough for you. This pair of glasses costs over $1,000, Amy said, her voice breaking. His pocket money is only $200 a month. He worked at the internet cafe every night until midnight, saving up for almost 2 months to afford it. He was afraid you wouldn't accept it, so he planned to secretly put it on your desk for your birthday. Just then, Liam walked over and tugged at my sleeve. Dad, my brother also told me he wanted to get a good grade to make you happy. On the day of the exam, I saw someone slip the cheat sheet to him. I wanted to tell the teacher, but my brother stopped me. He said, "Dad will believe me." But you didn't. Liam's words hit me like a sledgehammer. Finally, I understood why Ethan had insisted so stubbornly that he didn't cheat, and why he'd looked at me with such disappointment. All he'd ever wanted wasn't my scolding or demands, it was my trust, and a simple "you did well." I'd always thought he was irresponsible, but he'd been quietly giving so much to this family. I'd always told him to take care of his brother, yet I'd never once truly seen how he'd protected him. "Where is he?" I asked, my voice hoarse as tears finally spilled from my eyes. Amy told me Ethan was staying at his classmate Noah's house, and Noah's parents had already contacted her. I rushed to Noah's house by car. When I saw Ethan, his cheeks thinner, his eyes still red, my guilt grew even stronger. He was sitting at a desk, helping Noah with a math problem. When he saw me, he paused for a moment, his pen hovering in midair. His expression was complicated, there was resentment, disappointment, and a faint glimmer of hope that was hard to miss. "Ethan." My throat felt tight, and I couldn't say anything else. He turned to leave, but I stepped forward quickly and pulled him into a hug. "I'm sorry, son. I was wrong, I wronged you. Will you forgive me?" I held him tightly, as if he were a treasure I'd feared losing. It was the first time I'd hugged him so tightly. As I felt his thin shoulders, I noticed a faint bruise on his arm, the mark left by the punch he'd taken for Liam. Ethan stiffened in my arms for a long time, then slowly raised his hands and hugged me back, sobbing loudly. "Dad, I really didn't cheat. I just wanted to make you proud of me." "I know, son. I know you worked hard, and I know you've been protecting your brother this whole time," I said, patting his back as tears streamed down my face. "I was wrong, so wrong. I was too biased, and I ignored you. I wronged you and hit you. You can punish me however you want, just please come home with me. I just wanted you to see that I can be good too, that I can protect my brother well." Ethan's sobs grew quieter, but every word felt like a knife in my heart. I took Ethan home. We didn't say anything on the way, but the distance between us had disappeared. When we got home, I put on the new glasses. The world came into sharp focus, but more clearly than ever, I saw my own mistakes. I'd missed so many beautiful things about Ethan, his hard work, his protectiveness, all of it. That night, I sat in Ethan's room, and looked through his homework and exam papers carefully for the first time. From pages covered in red crosses to almost no mistakes, from messy handwriting to neat, tidy characters, every page told the story of his efforts. I also found a photo in his drawer, a picture of him and Liam. Liam was smiling and making a V sign with his hand, while Ethan stood beside him, his arm gently resting on Liam's shoulder. The sun shone down on them, warm and bright. "Ethan," I said softly. "From now on, I'll set aside time every week to study with you. If you don't understand something, we'll figure it out together. We'll go on that beach trip next month, all of us together. You can choose where we go, I'll listen to you. And thank you for always protecting your brother, and for always thinking of me." Ethan looked up, his eyes shining. "Really? Really?" I nodded. "You and Liam are both my treasures. I love you both equally." After that, I turned down many unnecessary work dinners. Every day when I got home from work, I'd go to Ethan's room first, to ask about his studies, to chat with him. On weekends I'd take both boys to the park to play basketball, to the library to read, or just stay at home and cook together. I realized that Ethan was actually very sensible. He'd take the initiative to carry things for Liam, hand Liam a glass of warm water when he wasn't feeling well, and never give up when he faced difficulties in his studies. He just wasn't good at expressing himself, instead, he hid all his kindness in his actions. Liam smiled more too. He no longer acted so cautiously, because he knew his brother's efforts had been seen, and that his dad's love was shared equally between them. Finally, the balance in our family was restored. One weekend evening, I took Ethan and Liam for a walk by the river. The sun was setting, painting the river's surface with golden light that shimmered like ripples. Ethan walked on my left, Liam on my right. The boys leaned their shoulders gently against mine, just like they did when they were little. "Dad, look, the sunset over there is so beautiful," Liam said, pointing at the river and smiling. Ethan nodded too, looking at me. "Dad, can we come here again for a walk next time?" "Of course," I said, smiling as I put my arms around both of them. "We'll come every weekend from now on." The sunset stretched our three shadows long and thin, merging them closely together. I knew I couldn't undo the mistakes of the past, but in the days ahead, I'd use more company and love to make up for what I'd owed Ethan, and to guard this warm family bond that we'd fought so hard to rebuild. In the end, the best kind of family love is never about favoring one person over another. It's about seeing everyone's efforts and cherishing every bit of love that's given. Just as Ethan silently guarded Liam, I too would use my actions to protect these two sons who made me so proud.